Sometimes it can be easier when you're beginning to start with a larger crochet hook and larger yarn. So there will be descriptions below for both sizes of yarn and crochet hook. We start with the slip knot, leaving a bit of a tail at the end and a loop large enough that your needle can slide through easily. You will wrap for tension and begin single crocheting. So you'll wrap your hook around your yarn and pull it through the first loop you made, and that is 1 crochet stitch. You'll do that for 9 stitches. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Then you'll come back into the second loop from the hook. So here's our hook loop, and you'll insert, you'll wrap. You've got 2 loops on your hook. You'll wrap again and pull through, and that completes 1 stitch. You'll do that until you get to the end. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. The nice thing about this pattern is that you are repeating the same stitch over and over. So it's a good practice pattern. At the end, you'll chain 1, so you'll just wrap, pull through the loop, and you've got an extra chain. You'll turn your work. Now the tail is next to your hook, and you'll come back into that second chain from the hook. We're going to increase, and so to do that, you'll insert and pull through. You'll go back into the same stitch and repeat the process. That gives you 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. And you'll move right back along the top of your work by just inserting into the stitch that you previously made, wrapping and pulling through. Insert into the next stitch, wrap and pull through. When we get to that last stitch, we're going to increase again by doing 2 single crochets in that first stitch, or in that last stitch, sorry. And then we chain 1 to turn. On this row, we're going to simply single crochet in each stitch. Are you remembering to keep your tension loose enough so that your stitches are loose? If you're having a hard time inserting your hook into a stitch, your tension is probably too tight. So just be sure to loosen up the yarn that's coming off of your skein. So we are to the end. We're back to where the tail is. We're going to again chain 1 and turn our work. This time we're going to increase again in the beginning. So we insert twice into the same stitch, and we move on down the row with single crochets, going stitch by stitch, inserting, wrapping, and pulling through. When we get to that last stitch, we're going to increase again by doing 2 stitches in the last stitch. So you should have 12 stitches by the time that you're done with this row. You can see that my stitching is pretty loose, but that is really a helpful tip if you're a beginner. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work. We're going to single crochet in each stitch all the way back to the other end. When we get to that last row, or that last stitch, that should be stitch number 12, we are going to chain 1 and turn. We're now on row 6, and we're going to increase again by 2. So we insert into that second chain, and we do that twice. And then continue to single crochet to the other end of our work. And remember, if it's hard to get your needle into the previous stitch, your tension's a little too tight. I wanted this video to be very beginner friendly, so that's why I'm using the larger hook and the larger yarn, because I think that makes it simpler if you are just starting out. Her pattern does recommend the sport yarn and the smaller hook because she is creating an adorable little amigurumi. We're going to go ahead in our last stitch and single crochet 2 stitches into 1. And then we chain 1 and turn our work. Now at this point, your beginning row should be opposite your needle. So here's our needle, here's the tail that we began with. For row 7 and 8, we are simply going to single crochet in each stitch. There should be 14 stitches for the next 2 rows.
you're going to chain 1 and turn your work, going back again 14 stitches.
To start row 9, we're going to chain 1, turn our work, insert into that first stitch, and crochet 2. So again, insert again and crochet, because we're increasing now from 12 to 16 stitches. So we'll single crochet all the way across, and then we'll increase again in the last stitch. And remember, an increase is simply single crocheting 2 stitches in 1 stitch. If you start feeling your tension get tight, be sure to pull more yarn off your skein. Now, last stitch, we're going to put 2 single crochets. And then we're going to chain 1 and turn our work.
You can see how we're just kind of making this cup shape out of our yarn, and this time the tail is on the same side of our work as our hook. For the next 2 rows, we're going to simply single crochet in each stitch.
Chain 1 and turn. Row 11, we just repeat that process. Single crochet in each chain. I realized that the background of my sewing table might be a little distracting for beginners, so I changed to a black cover. Let me know in the comments below if that was helpful for you. I want to make this the best experience for somebody who's just beginning to learn to crochet. It's so much more fun to create something rather than just learn the stitches in a straight line. So I like finding simple patterns where I can help you, the viewer, create something magical while you're learning a new craft. So for row 12, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And again, we're going to do that increase. So we go to that first stitch and make 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. Then we're going to single crochet to the end and again increase in the very last stitch.
remember to put 2 single crochets in that very last stitch, and then chain 1.
In row 13, we're simply going to single crochet to the very end. And you should have 18 stitches. Sometimes that very last stitch can be hard to get through, but push through to make sure that you have the right amount of stitches. We're going to chain 1 and turn. Again, we're going to increase. So in our first stitch, we will put 2 single crochets in 1 and continue to the end, where we will increase 1 more time. And then in that very last stitch, I want you to insert twice into the same stitch and then chain 1 to turn. I hope you've been marking off your rows on your pattern. If so, you know that we are now starting row 15. We should have 20 stitches, and we're going to single crochet in each stitch to the end. And then we'll chain 1 and turn. Again, row 16, we're going to increase. So 2 single crochets in that first stitch. Single crochet to the end. And in that last stitch, we continue with our increase by putting 2 single crochets into the stitch. And then chain 1 and turn your work. For the next 3 rows, we're simply going to single crochet in each stitch, chain 1 and turn. Lots of good practice here. Remember to keep enough yarn pulled out that you don't start tightening up your tension. Also be sure to mark on your pattern so you know you've completed one row of your 3. So if you do get interrupted, you'll know exactly where to pick it up and come back to. Okay, the end of row 18, we chain 1 to turn.
We continue to single crochet back to the other side.
Chain 1 and turn. Now that we have reached the end of increasing our work, we will start decreasing our work. So to decrease, we will insert into that first chain, wrap our hook, pull it back, and you'll have 2 loops on your hook, and then you'll hold those 2 loops, go back into the next chain on your hook, push through, wrap, pull back. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. You'll wrap and pull through all 3. And what you just did was you created 1 single crochet out of 2 single crochets. We're going to have a lot of time to practice that, because in row 20 we will continue to now chain to the end, and we'll decrease 1 more time at the end. Okay, we're getting to the end. Now we have 2 stitches left at the end of our work. We're going to insert in the second to the last stitch, wrap and pull through, then go to the very last stitch, insert, wrap, pull through, 3 loops on the hook, wrap and pull through all 3. Then we'll chain 1 and turn. Now we should only have 20 stitches on our hook, and we'll chain all the way back. You can see how it's come in on each end. So row 21, we just single crochet in our 20 stitches. And then we're at the end. We're going to chain one, turn our work. Again, we continue to repeat the same processes, which is what really makes this a beginner-friendly tutorial. So again, at the beginning of row 22, we're going to decrease. So we go into that first hook or first stitch, pull back, go into the second stitch, wrap, pull back, and we pull through all three. And then this row, we're only going to single crochet in the next 5 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. When you finish that, you're going to have a bit of a higher part here than the rest of your work. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. We don't even finish the row. We don't finish this row right now. We're chaining right here and turning our work. And then we're going to decrease, so we go in that second chain from the hook, wrap and pull through, go into the next chain, wrap and pull through, so we have 3 chains on, or 3 loops on our hook, and we pull through all 3, and then we single crochet in the next 4 stitches. See how it's looking? And that completes row 23A. Now we chain 1, turn our work, we're going to decrease again. So going into that first stitch, we wrap and pull through, the next stitch, wrap and pull through, then pull through all 3 to create that decrease, and then stitch in the next 3, chain 1, turn the work, and then we do another decrease, and chain and single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And this is what your work should look like. And that completes row 25A. Now we're just going to fasten that off. To fasten off, you're just going to cut your yarn and pull through. Here's where it gets just a little bit trickier. We have finished over here with 25A. Now we're going to come to this part of our work, the end of row 21, and we're going to start crocheting in the last stitch of 21. So we'll insert our hook. You can see that I didn't do anything with my other end of yarn. I'm not making a slip stitch this time or anything. I'm just leaving a tail, and I'm coming in here and picking up that yarn and do that again. Insert your hook, pick up your yarn, and make a stitch because you want to lock in your yarn. We're going to turn our work back over and single crochet in 5. Be patient with yourself. That can be a little tricky. This is going to begin to look familiar because we are not completing this row over to join row 25A. We're repeating, and this side will look like this side with just a few more rows. So we've crocheted 5. We're going to chain 1, turn our work, we're going to decrease, then chain 4, and to get into that last stitch, you may have to hold the tail of where we began stitching because you don't want to pull that out. But after you've completed this, it will lock it in. We shouldn't have that trouble again. Chain 1 and turn. Do our decrease. Then single crochet in 3. Chain 1, turn our work, decrease, single crochet in 2, and then again we fasten off. Now your work should be matching on both sides.